Welcome to the gold standard GAMSAT analysis of the new GAMSAT. This is Dr. Ferdinand, author of the gold standard GAMSAT books. This video will focus on the structure and the security of the new exam, and the next video will focus on specific strategies based on the new format. Yes, new, as it relates to the structure, delivery, and the timing of the exam. No one knows the future of the traditional paper GAMSAT, nor frankly of GAMSAT itself, which is a different story. This video is about a sea change in this standardized exam as it goes online with a remote proctor as a result of the global pandemic with respect to COVID-19. It is an imperfect but practical solution to preserve the perennial medical school application season for many students, and respecting local and national requirements for so-called social distancing. Originally, it was planned for May 28th to June 1st. It was extended to June 2nd. So when you consider 6 consecutive days, the multiplicity of time zones, and the fact that more than half the questions are repeated, yep, you heard that right. I'll leave a reference for this in the description. You have an exam system that's resembling a mathematical matrix. If this moves forward without complication, kudos to ACER. Okay, let's discuss the structure. First, I have to say this video was produced on April 24th, using information available as of today. Obviously, if you intend to sit the May-June GAMSAT, you must continue to perform your due diligence, keep up to date with any emails or announcements regarding modifications or clarifications related to the new GAMSAT format. Just overall, I want to just be clear, the questions will not be easier or harder. The calculations will not be longer or shorter. And like a traditional GAMSAT, there will be test questions to help gauge the exam for research purposes, or questions that will be rejected. And that has always been the case, and that's why you never spend more than a couple of minutes on any given question, because you don't even know if it's being scored, and so you might be wasting your time and reducing your score and your potential with other questions, and you will have more exam time per question for all 3 sections, though you could argue that section 2 has had only a marginal change. There are 2 sessions, but of course 3 sections to the exam. The first session, you can call it the non-science session, as it comprises section 1, reasoning in humanities and social sciences, and section 2, written communication, which comprises your 2 essays. You may have multiple proctors, but of course no one knows that for sure. So section 1 has 40 multiple choice questions, whereas the traditional paper version had 75, and the new online GAMSAT has 1 hour for section 1, which breaks down to 1.5 minutes per question. The traditional paper GAMSAT has 1.3 minutes per question for section 1. This is a significant change, and presumably ACER is doing this because of the amount of scrolling that you'll need to do in order to assess a passage in conjunction with the relevant multiple choice questions. We'll discuss that later when we look at your computer screen. There is no formal break between section 1 and section 2, which is the way a traditional exam proceeds. And you are not permitted to use the toilet in the last 10 minutes of any exam section, nor between section 1 and section 2. Now, of course, section 2 has very small modifications as compared to a traditional exam. Your 5 minutes of reading time is incorporated into the timing of the exam. So instead of it being 60 minutes for section 2, you have 65 minutes. However, you can use those 65 minutes as you wish. You spend as much time as you want on one essay and then another essay, and you can choose to start writing right away. And so the timing isn't exactly like it used to be, meaning a total of 60 minutes after your 5-minute reading time, because you can now use part of your reading time as writing time. And that's why I use this squiggly line to suggest that you spend approximately 30 minutes per question, so to speak. And then you get your break for an hour and return for section 3, which is your second online session with your remote proctor. Here you will have 60 multiple choice questions, and you will have an incredible 2 hours to complete those questions, which works out to an average of 2 minutes per question, which is a massive increase from the traditional paper GAMSAT's 1.5 minutes per question. Now let's look at your computer screen. I will be referring to information contained in ACER's GAMSAT Online Information Booklet May, in addition to ACER's FAQ. I will leave links to both in the description. Also, I must mention the brave students who have sacrificed themselves on the altar of ACER to clarify some issues in earnest regarding the new exam. It is in part due to their lobbying that scratch paper became permissible. ACER does not always answer queries directly, but they do seem to be doing their best during these trying times. So, as of now, there is no split screen, no underlining in your browser, no highlighting or crossing out. For those of you who know about the gold standard GAMSAT online exams, these are all traditional features of online tests. For example, a split screen is so that you can see the passage on the left and you can go scrolling on the right looking at any related multiple choice questions to any related part in a passage on the left. But as of now, the May-June GAMSAT does not have that feature, and so you would have the passage at the top of the screen, and then you'll have multiple choice questions following the passage below. And that means you'll be doing a lot of scrolling up and down, or you will be forced to redraw graphs or organic chemistry mechanisms, or take notes after reading a particular paragraph in section 1. But these are issues we will discuss when we review strategies. Now, in terms of features on your screen, we'll just look at them counterclockwise. Somewhere at the top, you're going to have a zoom feature. You will also have your ID on the screen for security purposes. You will not require an analog watch because you will have your exam timing displayed on your screen. You will also have radio buttons adjacent to the answer choices, which is obviously efficient. You will also have a scroll bar and navigation buttons so that you can complete passages, units, or multiple choice questions out of sequence if that is a strategy that works for you. And finally, your scratch paper. You are permitted 2 sheets of scratch paper per session, meaning 2 sheets for section 1 and section 2 combined, and 2 sheets for section 3. ACER did not originally specify the size of the paper, but then clarified in their FAQ that the paper should be A4 or approximately A4. But they did not specify lined or not. My suggestion is that you use thin graph paper, but you should have at your disposal thin lined paper and thinned completely blank paper as a precaution. After all, before the exam begins, your human proctor will be taking a look at your scratch paper, and you want to be sure that you are in compliance or that you can easily become in compliance with the rules. In addition to the paper, you are permitted to have a pencil, and I would suggest that you use a hexagonal pencil because it can lie flat on paper and it will not roll, so that if you are trying to draw a graph, a hexagonal pencil will help with your precision. And now just a quick word about security. First, of course, they're going to be checking your ID before the exam to ensure you are who you say you are. And they keep that picture, which in other online exams is forwarded to both the examiner, which is ACER, but also to medical schools in the future to ensure there were no shenanigans. And then there's your proctor. There's a human proctor keeping an eye on you, and of course other students, but there's also AI. And your digital proctor takes no break. They have data regarding keystrokes, facial recognition, the way you move your eyes, voice recognition, the order in which you answer, how much time you spend in different units and questions. It goes on and on. It's all data driven in order to look for suspicious activity. Not to mention, of course, before you start, they're going to look around your room, the walls, under your table. You will need a mirror so that they can actually see your computer screen. So in other words, they can see it digitally, but also they can see it physically just in case you have a program that's trying to avoid detection. And of course, all of this is being recorded, including chat logs and video, should any further investigation be required. Your scratch paper will need to be torn up at the end of the exam. I think this is the weakest link in the exam security. I think if it was really done properly, they would make you put those two pieces of paper through a shredder and then burn it in front of the human proctor. But to avoid spikes in home fires, ACER has yet again come up with a practical solution. Tear it up and put it in the garbage. And finally, I put exams to the power of n. And this is just to suggest that there will be a multiplicity of exams. Although there will be a lot of repetition, they have reduced the number of questions for Section 1 and Section 3, which reduces the exposure that any one student has to ACER's pool of questions and allows them to increase the diversity of specific exams. Again, imperfect but practical. I will also leave a link in the description to ProctorU's video regarding exam security. Obviously, cheating is not the way to start your medical career, and I will also leave a link in the description of a student who tried to use video technology, Bluetooth, and 3 tutors to try to cheat the system, but was caught and named in a public article. And so that's it for structure, screen, and security. The next video will deal with strategies for the new online GAMSAT.